All right, so now we're going to do the accordion. So we have this frequently asked questions right here. So we'll have the heading and then we'll have the actual accordion. And there's also a more info button. So let's go under the last section and let's say this is going to be the FAQ heading. So say section, we're going to give this an ID of FAQ because that's where the menu is going to go down to. And then in here we'll do our container and MX Auto, and H2 we'll do margin bottom 6, and for the text size we'll do 3XL, and then for the weight we'll do semi bold, text center, and on medium screens we'll make the text 4XL. And we're just going to say frequently asked questions. Okay, let's save that. Then we have a paragraph underneath, and that's going to be max width large, and PX-6 MX-auto text center, and the color of the text we're going to do grayish blue. And I'm just going to grab that paragraph text. All right, so now under that we're going to have our accordion. So let's create a new section for that. We'll say FAQ accordion, and let's give it a section, and I'll give it an ID of FAQ-accordion, and then we'll have our main container. So that's going to have a class of container, and we want it in the middle, and then PX6 for the padding, and then MB, so margin bottom 32. All right, now in here we want the accordion container. Okay, so this is going to go around the entire accordion, and we're going to give this a max width of 2XL because we want it to be kind of narrow, more narrow than the other stuff. See how it's not as wide here? So we'll do 2XL for the max width, and then margin all around, so margin -8, and then let's do MX Auto, and we're also going to add an overflow hidden. So it's that just sets overflow to hidden. And then we'll create our first tab. So the tab is going to be a div, and we're going to do PY1. We want a border on the bottom, so border-B. We don't want any outlines, so we're going to say outline none, and then we're going to give this a group class because we're going to have a group focus. I don't think we've done that yet. We've done group hovers, but we can also do on focus. And then in addition to that, we're also going to add an attribute of tab index equals 1. Okay, so inside this tab, we're going to have the tab, we'll call it the tab flex container. So that's going to be class flex, and let's do items center, and we want to justify between, and P on the y-axis we want to add some padding, so we'll do 3. Text color is going to be gray 500, and we're going to add a transition, so add the transition class. The duration we'll do 500 milliseconds, and then let's make the cursor a pointer when we hover over it. And we're also going to add onto this the class of group, and then the transition we want to add a class of ease. All right, so that is the tab 1 container. All right, so in here we want the title. Let's call this the tab title. And on this we're also going to add transition and duration 500 and ease, and then we're going to do a group hover, so group-hover, and then we'll make the text red 500. All right, so if we look at the thing here, we're talking about this. Okay, we hover over it, text red 500. We'll say what is bookmark for the text, And then we also have the arrow. So that's the second item in this flex container. So that's the first, the title. And then the second is going to be the arrow. All right, so for the arrow, we're also going to add a transition class and duration 500, ease. And here's where we're going to use group-focus on this. And when we focus, we're going to want to rotate it. Now we're going to do negative rotate, okay, because we want it to go counterclockwise, right? So negative is going to bring it that way. So negative rotate 180, right? Yeah, group focus, negative rotate 180. And then let's do group focus, and we also want the text is going to be red 500. So basically when it's active. So as you can see here, when it's active, the arrow is red. All right, now in here we're going to have in the arrow, which is going to be an SVG. So I'm actually going to just paste that in. I could have put it as a separate image, but I'll just put it in here. It's not bad. It's just this right here. So let's just save and see what we got so far. All right, and you can see we can click it, and we get that state when it focuses. Okay, now the inner content. Let's see. The inner content is going to go under this flex. Where is it? Tab flex container. So that ends right here. It's the second div after the SVG. And let's say this is the tab. We'll just say tab inner content. All right, so here we're going to do an overflow hidden. And this is also going to have a transition, duration, 500, and then on group focus. On group focus, we're going to do a max height screen. So as high as it can be, the height for this element. But by default, without the group focus, the max height will be 0. So it's going to be basically closed. And then when it's in focus, then the height will increase. Okay, so that's how this is working without JavaScript. And then we're just going to add the ease effect. Now in here, we're just going to have a paragraph, and we'll put a couple classes on here to just make it look nice. So padding Y, we'll do a text justify, and let's do a text gray 400. And then I'll just grab the text. It's just some dummy text. All right, so let's save that. And now if I click this, it shows me the content. Okay, because what's happening is when we first come to the site, the height for this div right here, the inner content, is max height 0. But when I click this, it goes into the focus state. So what happens is, first of all, up here, it rotates, right? The arrow, it rotates, it turns red, and then the content goes from height 0 to full height. And that's how we get that effect. And we don't have any JavaScript events or anything like that going on. All right, so now we want to do the second tab. So I'm just going to copy where we have tab 1. That ends right here. So we'll grab that whole thing. And there's going to be some changes we have to make. So let's paste that in. So this will be tab 2. And we're going to change the index as well to tab index 2. We want to keep all these classes. We want the group. We just want to change the actual text, which I'll just grab real quick. How can I request a new browser? We're going to keep the same arrow. All that stuff stays the same. And then we'll just leave the same text content as well. So let's save that. Let's see. If we click this one, shows us the text. If I click this one, it hides that one and then shows this one. So pretty cool, without having to write any JavaScript or anything. And we have, how many do we actually have? 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and we'll just grab tab 2, which ends right here. Let's see, tab 2, and then we'll go right under where it ends, paste that in. That's going to be tab 3, and then we want to change the tab index to 3. And then I'm going to go under that. Let's see, where does that end? Whoops, that's 2. This is 3, so I'm going to go directly under that and paste that in again, and this is going to be tab 4. So I'm going to change that. I'm going to change the tab index to 4, and then we just need to change the titles. So let's see, this one here is going to be, is there a mobile app? And then the last one, let's see, the last title is going to be, what about other Chromium browsers? Save that and let's check it out. All right, so that works. Let's stretch it out, see how it looks. Cool. So I think it's a pretty good looking site. What we have left is this part right here, so this little newsletter part and the footer, and we also want to make sure that we make the menu work as well and have a smooth scroll.